Hi, everybody. You're welcome. It's good to have everyone that'll be watching this later. Today, I have Rachel.
Okay.
I've heard your story from side. I've seen you build stuff quietly, all of those type of things. And this conversation is supposed to be just a free flow of just kind of just sharing and just talking about your story. We have a set of questions that we would ask, but we're also very willing to just dump them if we see that the conversation is going in a different direction. So we're not fixed on
Okay.
those questions. Before we go ahead, we would like you to introduce yourself, and then we just go into the questions that we have.
Okay. Thanks a lot for having me. My name is Rachael Onoja. So this is quite tricky because I've been, like you said, I'm in the midst of multiple transitions right now. So it's somewhat hard to introduce myself. But yeah, my name is Rachel, currently VP of Learning and Market Development at Trip Mango. And also the founder of Balance Unleashed. I would share what Balance Unleashed is a bit later. But my journey has been around designing transformative learning experience for individuals, mostly on a technical level. But then for the past, would I say, a year or two now, I've sort of like transitioned. Again, that's where Balance Unleashed comes in. Transitioned into empowering individuals to have transformative life experiences or transformative life journeys within programs that helps them show up as a more well-rounded version of themselves beyond just the technical aspect of it, which is what I do in my 9 to 5. So I think that's a good summary. Yeah.
Always very interesting when people have to balance their 9 to 5 with what they
Yeah.
actually. I was writing something yesterday about how your passion does not necessarily have to be your gift.
True.
Uh,
True.
and I think that sometimes that's the mistake we make, even myself. Like, I think I'm good at oratory, I think I'm good at speaking, but I don't think I am passionate about it. No, I think I am passionate about building businesses.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm good at it. I don't think I'm gifted at it, but I am passionate about it.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's those type of things whereby, so for example, and like I said, we have a set of questions, but I like to enjoy the conversation. So the businesses that I have are spread out. My 9 to 5 is marketing, brand strategy,
Yeah.
basically. But I do absolutely nothing. Maybe only just one of my businesses is leaning towards marketing. Maybe
Yeah.
less than, but every other thing is absolutely outside of what I have done, even in terms of
Yeah.
like education. Like Motley Inspires is a learning and development company. We have a faith-based community called Akwejo. We have a fashion brand. We have um, a studio, a faith-based studio, basically, and a couple of other things that we do. The
Yeah.
only thing that relates into my 9 to 5 is the marketing agency that
It's
was
a
on.
marketing bit. Yeah.
The question I want to ask with that is, how are you able to? Because I know that your current venture, Balance Unleashed, and what you're doing with work, there's somewhat intertwined. Yeah, was it an intentional effort to sort of take those things together, or is it that you just wanted what you're doing both in your 9 to 5 and your venture is part of who you are, and you're just finding multiple ways of expressing them?
Okay. That's a good question. I think the easiest way to answer it would be that it wasn't intentional, right? Up until maybe like a month or two ago, that was when I figured out that, oh, this stuff is connected.
Yep.
But before then, all I thought was, okay, I have gone through a very, would I say, traumatic experience, and I wanted to share with people how to not get to where I got to, right? Just because you're trying to build businesses, you're trying to grow your career. And that meant just sharing stories, also sharing the lessons I was picking up along the journey of sort of going through my own transformative experience. And that's now translated into a community because I started Balance Unleashed as a community, right? And that was what it was supposed to be. But then the more I sort of like put structure around the way I'm looking to support people, the more it became, oh, this is a learning experience journey I'm designing, right? So it was maybe like at the start of this year, that was when I figured out, I was like, okay, what you've been doing in your 9 to 5 has purely been technical. But then now you're sort of like helping individuals who have some form of technical mastery to gain mastery of
Mhm.
their mind and their self, right? So it was sort of like 2, 3 levels higher than what you're doing in your 9 to 5. Now, again,
Mhm.
while on the, would I say, on the foundational level, yes, it's learning experience. But then when you think of what I'm actually supporting people in my 9 to 5, I'm supporting people within to learn how to build products or build chips or design chips within the semiconductor industry, which is totally not connected to what I'm doing in Balance Solution, right? So it's more of a foundational level. So was it intentional? No. It was just one of those ways that God expresses himself through us, leveraging some of the awesome skills you might have picked up in different parts of life. And then he's like,
Yeah,
yeah, this skill that you thought was useless, let me amplify it in this particular direction. So, yeah.
yeah, and I really like the story of the stumbling on stuff because I genuinely think that for so many of us, we've painted this polished story. I knew what I was going to do. I knew. I genuinely think that in the honest truth is, so many of us stumble on so many things. So
Yeah.
many of us stumble on greatness. And I was saying to my barber a few days ago, because we were just speaking, and I was saying that a lot of times English is our problem, not in a bad way. It's that, uh, Rachel, can you walk me through your journey? And
Yeah.
obviously, you're taking some intentional steps to grow, but the bang, the background of it, or the backbone of the journey would be, I stumbled upon this thing. I really did not
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
I was doing these things all together. And I genuinely like when people are able to honestly just say, hey, yeah, honestly, you can stumble on it. So, like, I'm not going to tell you these are the 5 steps to build this thing, because I really
Yeah.
like, I always say, like, all my businesses, yes, they've been I've been doing, but it wasn't like I intentionally, I was walking you through the Motley Inspires business. It wasn't like
Yeah.
I intentionally sat down when I was 15 and said, I'm going to build a learning and development company. I started writing.
Yeah.
Then I started doing free webinars. And I realized that, oh, I had a course I could put. I realized that I had product I could create. And over the years, we've just done all of those things, and we've built products. We have 2 new products coming up this year. And that leads me to my question, which is around,
Yeah.
um, in your journey, can you, when you think about the journey that you have had in the last couple of years, how would you be able to tell how have you like postured for growth in such a way whereby you have said to yourself, oh, this is who Rachel wants to be in the next few years. This is where Rachel needs to get to. How have you postured for growth? How have you intentionally, beyond the stumbling, how have you intentionally just said, oh, I want to do this, I want to build this, and what kind of result has that generated for you?
Okay. Um, so I would say I did my I did my best to stay curious, right? I have learned that sometimes you can't grow beyond what your current level of exposure is, right? And that sometimes means I have to read more. I have to place myself in very impossible positions where my mind is expanded. I have to ask uncomfortable questions sometimes. I have to, so uncomfortable, not uncomfortable for the other people, but questions that make me uncomfortable, right? This could be me asking myself, this could be me asking people these questions. Um,
Mhm.
I would say I got exposed a lot through books, right? There are times that I would have conversations with people and they'll be like, how did you know that? And I'll be like, oh yeah, I read about it, right? And that's actually something that I'm trying to get back into this year. I used to read a lot, but I think for the past couple of years, I haven't read as much as I want. But now this year, I'm on a mission to read minimum 4 books every month. And I think I'm doing pretty great so far, right? I sometimes like reading all 4 at once or 2 to 3 at once, right? And that has just been, it has sort of like been me, the experience has been me finding myself again, right? Which has been awesome. So I would say curiosity is one of the ways I position myself for growth. Another part would be effectively offering value, right? Whatever I learn. how can I translate that into value? For say a business I'm supporting, individuals I'm around, is that if I position myself as someone who can give you, maybe not give you, it's because again, it's not it wasn't calculated. It was
Mm-hmm.
just me learning this much, and I'm like, oh, you tell me, because earlier you were having a conversation and then you were talking about, oh, a challenge you were having, and immediately what popped in my head was, oh, I think I may have someone I want you to have a conversation with. That's the way my brain works, right? It's not like I'm trying to calculate it. But now think about it this way. If I introduce you to this person and then things work out, right? Next time, if an opportunity pops up that you think Rachel is the right fit for, Rachel will be the first person that comes to your mind. You get.
Yeah.
So it's that it's not calculated, but then I have seen how just being able to provide that value in one way or another based off insights or lessons I have learned, that has that has helped me grow more, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of I've been in the industry for almost 12 years now, and every single opportunity that has come my way that I have stepped into fully came through a recommendation, right? It wasn't jobs I applied for. Everything came through a recommendation, right? People just picking up that, oh, Rachel is the right person for this. So with that, it makes sense for me to sort of like just keep positioning, be curious, well, and be curious enough, offer as much value, but also pay it forward, right? Paying it forward in the sense that, are there people who don't have access to sufficient enough information? The thing is, Nigerians or even Africans, oftentimes we have this very limited understanding of our own exposure and our own experience. So when you have an experience, you just be like, hey, it's normal, right? We normalize everything. But then we forget that there are people who also don't have that level of exposure. So the question is, would I say, create a very small way to make this available to other people? This could be me writing, right? I learned while working with an executive coach that I communicate better by sharing my lessons, right? So by sort of like sharing those lessons, I have this newsletter called Love Letters from Ray, and I try to send them as often as I can. And every time I write, there at least one person would reach out and say, I needed this exactly. Like it came at the right time for me. So that is me just paying it forward, right? They may not be able to attain this level of exposure that I have already gone ahead to attain, but through my writings, through my opinions, right? I'm not trying to force it, but through these letters that I send to people, I'm paying it forward to show you that, oh, there is a level of exposure I can also expose you to, right? Hoping that you will take that on and use it in a very minimal way within your life, and hopefully it translates into something, right? So, how has all this summed into growth or sort of like paid me? I would say it has taken me into rooms that on a normal day I would not have been able to access. That's the
Mm-hmm.
easiest way to explain it. Yeah.
Mm. I think that's really a beautiful way to approach it because, and here's why. Unfortunately, fortunately, I also sort of have the same type of. I've
Yeah.
never. I don't think I've ever gotten a job through putting a CV in, going through the
Yeah.
interview. And it's annoying because every time I try,
Same.
I job, and I'm like, I'm. God says my heart, I'm humble, but I'm like, I'm really good at what I do.
Yeah.
Why are
Yeah.
these people not hiring me? But I've genuinely never gotten a job through. So, like currently, like I'm not in Nigeria, and so trying to get
Yeah.
a job. And I'm just like, I definitely know that I can do amazing here at this
Yeah.
work. Like I'm good at what I do. I'm decent. I'm consistent. I pursue
Yeah.
excellence. Why can't they see it? But it's the thing that I realized that you're right that if you posture for value, and maybe some of us cross that we need to carry that, hey,
Yeah.
your job would come through me recommending you to somebody, and so you just have
Yeah.
to wait it out because really and truly, there's nothing you can do to push or force the time of recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Recommendation really happens in the season that is meant to happen,
True.
and there's really absolutely nothing you can do. What you could have only done is to ensure that you did the last one well, and that's all.
Yeah.
When the
True.
next one, you're you don't have any power
Yeah.
to do it. And that's why I like how beautifully it's put because people would see you now and they see what you're doing, they would say, okay, maybe we should come and do a career coaching thing. And yes, you can, because I believe that there are certain skills that transcends.
Yeah.
Be excellent at what you do, be curious, learn. But people need to know, like, a few people had asked me, how did you get here? I'm like, honestly, I do not know. Like, I genuinely cannot put it to paper to tell you this is the
Yeah.
thing I did. The only thing I have told myself is anywhere I find myself, anything that I lay my hands doing, by the grace of God,
Do
I
it
will
well.
do so well
Yeah.
that when it's time to leave, it will take them so long to replace me.
Yeah.
Not that it's not replaceable, but it will take them a while. They will try
Yeah.
and try and try. They're like, oh, finally we arrive at someone that can replace me for me. That's
Yeah.
great. Like, my last job in England, they've not still found somebody to replace me the way they can. I know.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not a thing of pride, but it's a thing of
It
I
is
can
a
work.
thing of pride in a way.
Not pride like I am
Yeah.
better, like pride that
Yeah.
yes, I'm happy that I'm very grateful and proud that I'm able to do those things. But
Yeah.
if what I'm saying is I can walk into the organization tomorrow now and meet the
Yeah.
CEO, the directors, and I'll tell them, oh, I'm currently in England now. Like, is this role still open? Can I take it? And they might not give me, but they will pause and say,
Yeah.
do we like, let's consider this thing, and all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I genuinely like that. My next question would be around
Sorry,
and
before you move on to your next question, can I just
oh
quickly
yeah, yeah.
point out that I think one of the ways I have made sense of the whole provide so much value that people would find it difficult to replace you. Like I tell people that, see, even in relationships, you won't meet the same Rachel twice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Even if, for example, we sort of like we dated and we broke up, and the next 6 months we get back together, I won't be the same version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Myron Golden, I listened to Myron Golden a lot, and he talks about how every single person was created with a different purpose, with a different, they get to experience life differently. So
Yeah.
if you as an employer think you've hired me and I've done excellent work and then I've left, then you think you can bring in someone to deliver the same level of work I did, then you are setting yourself up for failure. Because my experiences as an individual, how I grew up, my
Mm-hmm.
family experiences, some of the traumas I had, some of the lessons I picked up, some of the joys I had, those are things that cannot be replicated in an exact, like, you and I can have the same stories, but at
Mm-hmm.
least one thing will be different in both of us. And
Yep.
that difference is the excellence that we bring, and an
Mm.
employer cannot replicate it. Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes it helps me just be like, you know what? It's fine if I'm the only person who is that awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always, I also have the same experience where people try to replace me and it takes them so long. So what I try to do is sometimes, again, within the company, can I mentor someone, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
can mentor someone, but still, you still won't be able to deliver the same level as I
Yeah.
did, and I won't be able to deliver at the same level that you get
As
to deliver.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting because um I, I made a post on LinkedIn yesterday on a video that I watched from Ashake and Oti. And for Ashake, is a wise man. I would really love to talk to him one day.
Yeah.
And he said something. He said, "You only get to do everything that you are doing once.
Yeah.
You cannot do them again. You only get to do them
Yeah.
once. That's to say, I might as well just do it in the way that I know is my way than
Yeah.
to do it in another person's way." I was thinking about this with like people that have like multi-affiliated, talented people.
Yeah.
I enjoy like that LinkedIn is the only socials I have. I don't say this publicly because I work in marketing, and so everyone assumes I should have a lot, but I don't have personal socials across.
Yeah.
I only have LinkedIn, and I do enjoy it a lot. But the traps that you can get into in those type of places is that you see people speaking about one direction. Oh, I
Yeah.
am this person in this, and I'm not the one directional person.
Yeah.
I'm given yesterday, like a typical example. I sent you a brief that I was working on whilst I was trying to send you this document, and
Yeah.
that's my brain. I think sometimes, and I think I get bored when I'm doing one thing. So my brain performs better when there's a chunk of things that I'm doing. Like today, I can be
Mm.
writing a script for a because we have one of the things we do in our faith-based studios to have like a um a comical story of the Bible in
Mm.
other languages.
Nice.
And so we started it in Pidgin. And so
That's so
I
cool.
the script in Pidgin, and so today I can write a script in Pidgin, and in the next 3 hours, I have to deliver a strategy document on what I'm doing. And how do you tell that story on a place like LinkedIn when everybody is asking you, when the expectation or the norm that you see is someone just saying, I am a marketing strategist and that's it. But I am not that. Like, so I used to struggle with it that am I building my career the way I am? Usually I just jumping from this to another. Are you really
Yeah.
building your career the way you're supposed to do? But I then realized that I'm not going, and that video really helped me because I'm like, I'm not going to, I really, what I think I'm doing, I believe in it. It might not have a lot of success examples, at least when people
Yeah.
inform me to stage. That's why I like to share my story because I'm like, I think there are people that have done it, you've not spoken about it. They just kept quiet and just grown and become
Yeah.
great at it, and they've now become successful, and everybody only knows the success stories. But
Yeah.
nobody talks about how it was very frustrating in the time of building multiple things at the same time. And
Mm.
I'm like, I'm going to keep doing that because I know that I only get to do all of these things once. And it
True.
doesn't matter if my story resonates with 1,000,001 people, it's just one person. It just matters
Yeah.
that I get the chance to do again all of these things once. And so if I'm going to flow in any way, I'll flow in the direction that matters to me. Not
Yeah.
that that's whoever is going to read this because eventually they don't get to live my life. I get to
True.
do that. After a while, I don't get, I like, and it's not even about death, it's
Yeah.
age, it's family. You might
Yeah.
not have a chance anymore to do any of these things again. And for me, that's one of the reasons why when I see you talk about how in your day to day you are building chips and in the night or your 5 to 9, you're how they call it, you're finding a way
Yeah.
to help achieve their dreams. It brings that to mind because it's two different worlds, even if they're
Yeah.
somewhat intertwined. But we're not going to spend too much time on that. I have one
Mhm.
question. Um, so you've part of one of the things that people don't realize is I think I know a bit of old school story, not from when old school started.
Yeah.
I used to know Nifemi and Adewale when they were at the tech
Tech one.
something. Tech,
Tech one.
yes, Tech Point. Because I used to work in an agency and they used to pitch to me to work, like to do some sort of journalism work for them. So it
Yeah.
was one day I was checking my emails, my last, I was, it's true. God, I beg, see this guy. Like, it's crazy. But where I'm really going is we with some of the work that most of the most impactful work that I think we do is unseen.
Yeah.
It's everyone only saw Alt as successful when it became successful publicly.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of groundwork, and even the same thing with Balance Unleashed, even the same thing with your life as an individual.
Yeah.
The moment I blow, everybody will say, "Oh my God, this guy's such a smart guy. He has been
Yeah.
building all the things I decide. Oh my God, man!"
Yeah.
But
They did not see
really,
all the stupid things I got to do.
yeah, exactly. There, no one sees. So
Yeah.
my question would be, what is doing the work really behind the scene when it's only you that have an understanding of what you're doing? When it's
Yeah.
only you that you are like the way I explain myself now, like that you know what you want to do. Like and it doesn't make sense to anybody. No, there's no validation even for yourself to keep doing this thing. Like
Mm.
this in this conversation, for example, there's nothing like we've been doing
Yeah.
this sessions for years, and it's not like as
Yeah.
if every time we do we get 1 naira. No, we don't. We
Yeah.
just doing it because it's what does it really mean for you to doing the work behind the scenes that people do not often see.
Hmm. That's a very loaded question. Let me give a bit of background. I started the work I do because I was trying to solve a problem for myself, right? I I I was, according to my parents or my mom wanted me to be a doctor, right? And I had said, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. And I remember so it's crazy because I as much as I'm obedient, I can also be very stubborn, right? And I feel like my mom has received the grunt of my stubbornness. So this time I watched a movie. I used to I till date I love I watch a lot of sci-fi shows. And I watched the sci-fi show, a couple of them, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go into this IT thing. This is when 2011, 2012. And I remember telling my mom that, oh, I'm not going to study medicine. I'm going to go into IT. I was like, what do you mean by that? Right. And at the time, there wasn't enough information. There wasn't all of these awesome things happening in tech had not happened. So nobody could tell you. My mom's fears were valid at the time. But I think there's has always been this prayer that she always prays about how um when you call one, 8,000 would answer, right?
Mm,
There has been, you are going to be great. You would go farther than I or your dad have ever gone. Now, what that does is it's sort of like there's a bit of pressure it places on you as an individual, but also there's this sense of comfort it gives you because you know that you're not standing alone, right? There's prayers and all that. So every time I would pray about my career, I would tell God, I don't want to do what other people think I should do, right? I want to do what you think I should do, what you want me to do. And that meant that also means sometimes fighting with your folks or fighting with people
mhm,
around you to let them see that you can't even let them see it. That's true because it doesn't make sense for them at this time. But you just hold on to the hope that you are running this work with God, right? You're going on this work with God. So he will make it make sense to them. Now, in hindsight, I did not have this wisdom to connect the dots that, oh, I was just holding on to God. At the time,
mm,
it was just me being a bit rebellious, but also me saying that I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So by the time I think I finally went into school, I attended a polytechnic, only to find out. So I was always ahead of my class. So while everybody is studying, let's say first year, I'm still first studying second, third year and all that. Even when I was in high school, when we're like SS1, I was in SS2, SS2, I'm in SS3, SS3, I'm already in 100 level or whatever. So by the time I got into school and found out that what we're being taught was way behind, right? It's not what people within my, yeah, like we're studying C, Q sharp, Q basic, and all, like, what is this? Right. So at the time, I knew I had to sort of like get more. Again, that curiosity thing that I mentioned. So I went out to look for resources to ensure that I was learning what I'm supposed to be learning so that I can build an AI surveillance system because that was my goal at the time, my very audacious goal. Now, till date, I have not built that AI surveillance system, but I know that I have been able to empower individuals. I have been able to empower hundreds of thousands of people to be able to build an AI surveillance system. So, what happened was there had to be a shift. The moment I realized that these resources weren't available, I got them. I was like, okay, I will try to learn because I learned how to code. It's just at some
mhm.
point I realized that if I'm going to learn how to code, again, if you remember that whole, you will call one, 1,000 would answer.
Answer.
If I'm going to be the person coding, yes, I could code a product and millions of people could use it. But what if I'm able to ensure that other people have this knowledge to do this? That was where the shift happened for me. And by doing that, that means learning to create structure for other people. And I was able to do that. That was how the learning experience design started. Now, by being in a lot of these places, there were times that it didn't make sense because there's also the whole concept of whatever you're trying to teach right now. It takes a lot of faith in these people to believe that what Rachel is saying people should go and learn would help them achieve their goals. When Rachel has not stepped into that place where she has achieved her goals yet, right? So there's also that part of being in the working with the right people. I tell people that if I have trust issues about working with you, I'm not going to work with you, right? So being able to consistently have conversations with myself about, is this the right thing to do right now? Is this what I would want to learn if I was the one um going through this experience? So with
Mhm,
that, I put that into whatever program I'm designing. I put that into whatever business I'm supporting to build and put that energy of, if I were the one studying this, would I enjoy it? So it's, yeah, I sort of like put myself on a pedestal and I sort of like, that puts me under additional pressure. Pressure is, there's this thing that a lot of people say, pressure is privilege, right? Because it
mhm.
sort of like gives you the privilege to design a top tier program that
Yeah.
can transform lives in different ways. Because let's say 5 years from now, someone would say, oh, this was a program that Richard designed. That's absolute rubbish. You get that sort of
Mm,
like, because again, it's not my life I'm dealing with anymore. It's people's lives, right? So Every day I wake up, there's this pressure of I cannot afford to mess another person's lives. If someone is going to come through this program, normally, if it's a full-time program, it means you are taking away time that you would have been working a full-time job. You are getting money to come and
Yeah.
trust Rachel that, oh, this program that Rachel has designed would help me 3 to 5, almost 8x my salary because that was a promise,
Mm-hmm.
which means I cannot afford to waste 1 year of your life. So, because of that, there's a degree of excellence that needs to go into this whole experience. So, once that experience is put out there and I'm seeing, okay, this is changing lives in little ways, also measuring, I like to tell people that one thing I like to do is pattern recognition, right? Try to recognize how is this learning impacting one person, how is this digital learning impacting another person, and trying to see if I place this same situation in somewhere in Asia, in somewhere in North America, will it work? If it doesn't work, why? Right? Ask questions, keep probing to sort of like see how this works and how this translates into impact for each each individual, right? So with that, that sort of like helps me stay more laser focused. But in the grand scheme of things, behind the scene, what keeps me going, even when it doesn't make sense out there yet, is the why. For
Mm.
me, the why was always I want to build AI surveillance system. But then the moment I switched to being able to design programs that empowers 1,000 people to build AI
Yeah.
surveillance system, it now sort of like requires there's higher requirements on myself. Now,
Mm.
by the time it switched and also anchoring that why in a force greater than myself, because I tell people that while my work with God has not been as straightforward as everybody's work, right? It's one thing that has kept me going is that even if I'm not acting right, I can always hold on to the fact that God will hold me accountable for the lives that He has placed in my possession in one way or another. So every time I would go back and be like, okay, I need help, right? And inspiration, help from the Holy Spirit will come. And with that, that is why every program I design is a bit different. You talked
Mm.
about how Ashake said you won't be able to do the same thing twice. I have always talked about how I can't work on the same program twice. I feel I get bored, right? I feel like it's also a waste of my brain power. I feel like it's a waste of the Holy Spirit as working me, right? So
Mm.
because of that, it sort of just keeps me holds me. I The Holy Spirit holds me to a very high standard, or God holds me to
Yeah.
a very high standard, and because of that, I cannot afford to mess people's lives up. So even in the day-to-day work, when I'm designing programs at AltSchool at the time, I think one other thing that helped was Adewale always being like, "Hey, I trust you," right? Which ties back to that whole thing. If I don't trust you as my employer, and if you as my employer doesn't trust me, we won't be able to work together. I've worked on projects, let's say contracts and all of that. There was time I started working for someone and they were like, oh, they want me to work on this stuff. But then there was this whole second guessing because it was someone who recommended me. And then they were like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, are you sure this person? Are you sure? And one day I was like, if you can't trust me to deliver this, there's no point. Because what you keep doing is you create this you tell me you trust me, right? But then you when I put this out, you go and ask like 17 people. And then they will
Yeah.
tell you that this Rachel has delivered what you want. So because of that, that limited my ability to do so much. It's just like the way even Jesus couldn't perform a lot of miracles, right, in his
Mm.
hometown because there was this over familiarity, or there was also this sense of there wasn't freedom, there wasn't trust that this person could deliver. You get.
Mm.
So all this to say, for me, is anchoring it in the help of God, trusting that God will not lead me astray. You've given me
Mm.
too many lives. You've given me the opportunity to impact too many lives, the privilege to impact too many lives. So surely you will not allow me to mess up because it's not Rachel's name that is going to they are going to drag. It's
Mm.
God's name. You get
Mhm.
right. So sometimes it's like, okay, it's not me. Yes, I could be the poster child, but at the end of the day, they'll be like, all these faith driven people that you get, right?
That's
So
me a lot, man.
that helps, right? But in the grand scheme of things, I think what keeps me going, even when it gets exhausting, even when it doesn't make sense, when I'm tired, when I'm depressed, when I feel like I should stop, is remembering you call one and 1,000 would answer. and the opportunity that God has given me to actually do that.
Yeah.
I can't mess it up, right?
Yeah.
So when I now start seeing the results show up, I'll be like, okay, I guess this is happening now. This is happening now. And it helps me sort of like be grateful and be humble
Mm,
that I have this opportunity. Like, I am too small to do this much, right?
mhm,
But being given that privilege to do it, it's humbling. It truly is humbling. Yep.
mm. Yeah, I agree with you. And honestly, it's the same to think about it from the place of I get a chance to preach sometimes, and
Yeah.
this is how I say it to myself. I say I cannot. I know that whenever I have to preach, God will give a word to the people,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
But I cannot be so careless.
Mm,
I will not prepare something for His
yeah.
people
Yeah.
and not show Him that I have done my own part of preparing.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to switch it while I'm on the pulpit, it's your choice.
Yeah.
Same thing with this session. I have a full document of questions,
You sent me a document.
but I literally have just asked maybe two of it. And
Yeah.
for me, it's like it's two things even on a different part. It's two things for this conversation is I cannot waste your time and
Yeah.
come here and start saying, give me a second. And secondly is
Yeah.
that I have a chance to do this. I might as well do it well and then leave the outcome to God.
Yeah.
I know that on my own part too, I came prepared. I did
Yeah.
it. I prepared. I was ready for it. And like even when we have one people, because we do some of these things sometimes
Yeah.
on live webinars. Sometimes we have one
Yeah.
guest. Sometimes
Yeah.
we have guest is my wife.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will prepare it because we always have this welcome slides introducing the speaker. When we have live guests, we do all of these things. We do email automation to send them the one guest on
Yeah.
the Monday before the session, on the Wednesday, on the Friday, 1 hour before the session, a thank you after the session.
Yeah.
And every time I will like, whether it's one, whether it's 28, whether it's 1 million, we will follow this process. We'll
Yeah.
do it. Like, and honestly, I think what that has even done for me is taking away looking for audience.
Yeah.
It's like it's literally like
Yeah.
not everywhere. I still
Yeah.
sometimes like, oh, more people should have joined, but like I'm not. Before I used to be sad. I used to feel unfulfilled if I don't get the volume of people that I'm trying to
Yeah.
get into a webinar or I'm doing a podcast. And like, but now I enjoy the process of building than
Yeah.
the result of what's produced. I don't.
Yeah.
I want the result, but
Yeah.
now brain is not. It's my brain is rewired
Yeah.
think only about the results. And so
Yeah.
I've done things that if I show you the comics that we have drawn in the last 1 year, you will wonder why have I not seen this? We've drawn
Yeah.
over 8. I was reviewing one this morning. And I know that there might be a place of maybe Nifemi are not promoting it enough, but I'm also like how else? Because I don't like to
Yeah.
talk about I want to be able to build companies without my name. Because I
Yeah.
can wake up tomorrow and God will say, go and start a shoemaker company. And I will leave everything. And so I don't want to tie my existence into
Yeah.
anything I am doing. That people will now see it and say, this company is Nifemi. So I always try to just separate myself entirely and let that thing build itself. But I know I have over 86 podcast episodes of a different thing. There's over
Mm.
30 of these sessions on YouTube.
Yeah.
The point is what you have said is that I don't know what all of these things would anchor. I've anchored
Yeah.
everything I'm doing with God. But the part that I will anchor on myself is whenever I get the chance to say, hi, good morning, everybody, I will do my best to ensure
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
prepared. I've done it well. And then every other thing that I have anchored on God will begin to
Yeah.
work itself out in due
Yep.
season. And that has helped. I think for me, it helped me to stay building. It helped me
Yeah.
to always think of ideas. Like my friends will say, you just finished. You have not. I said, my life, I think I'm born to create. I I
Yeah.
feel like now I need to figure out how to sell the creation
Distribute.
of or yeah, but like to create is what I like. I have like tons of ideas that I want to do, but I'm just like, at some point we'll do them. Like I'm producing fabrics in China. Like again, it's just an idea to say, honestly, if you can get to the point whereby all you know that you can control is the quality of the work that you can do,
Yeah.
and then you do a little bit, or you do some level of pushing it out one day or another. But I've also come to see that it's not the pushing it out that gives the results.
Yeah.
It's not because Adewale and you guys started talking about art school a
Mm-hmm.
lot. You did the best marketing. I know I'm a marketing person, so I should be
Yeah.
saying, but I also believe that when it's the season of something to be found, you can be
Yeah.
under the ground, they will find you.
True.
When it's the season
True.
of something to be found. Now the question is, now when they now find you, did they find you well? Because that's when they
Yeah.
find the product and the product does not exist again.
That was rubbish.
It was
Yeah.
rubbish. And so I would ask one more question, or two more before we go.
Okay.
If I let you go. And this is almost a close to wrap up questions. And
Yeah.
it's like, how would you define, no, how do you see your life or your progress now compared to when you started? And what are the major changes that you have noticed to say, man, like me, for example, I would say that I'm more organized.
Yeah.
I have more structure. I'm wiser. I'm no longer afraid to fail. Okay, that's a lie. I know failure is an option if you don't do it
Yeah.
well. And even if you do it well, I know that failure can happen if it's not in the season of something. So I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to pause and say I will
Yeah.
pick in the next 3 years. I'm
Mm.
not afraid to, I used to beat myself up when I don't act on an idea because I think it will go to somebody else. You know, when they will say the Lord gives idea at the same time, you don't jump on it now. But I'm not afraid of that anymore. I used to say that
Yeah.
if I don't have the capacity now to do something, I'd rather it goes to somebody else that can do it well than me do
Yeah.
it totally rubbish. And so those are something that I have learned when I started versus now. What would you say is the
Yeah.
same for you?
Hmm. Interesting. So we have a couple of similar ones. I would say when I started, I was just trying to keep my head above waters. I was just trying to learn as much as I could. My mom brought me up in the way of you can't just be idle, right? You can't just be idle. Right now, Rachel knows how to sew. Rachel knows how to bake. I've baked commercially, wedding cakes and all that. Rachel knows how to do a lot of things because there wasn't any, would I say, school break where I was just at home.
Mm,
That's never existed, right? But then, so when I now jumped into school and I realized that oh, the whole curriculum thing was behind, that was me just trying to do something so I don't stay idle. Because the way my mind works is that if I know that there's something more I'm supposed to be doing right now and I'm not doing it, it sort of like triggers me into this whole, huh, uh, you're being lazy,
mhm.
right? It triggers me into you're being idle, and idle bad is devil's workshop and all of that,
Yeah.
right? So because of that, it's sort of that was me just being busy. But now I think I am more busy. I'm not busy, I'm more productive, like purposefully productive, right? I don't take on things that I I have no business taking on right now. There are times
Mhm.
that I make the mistake of doing that. I think at the start of this year, I took on this consulting gig, but then I think 2 weeks in, 1 week in, I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, this, you're not supposed to take this on. Right. And immediately I texted the person. I was like, hey, I'm sorry. I know I took this on and I know this is crucial for you, but I don't have the bandwidth for this. I'm supposed to be doing something else, right? Um, Again, back to that whole trusting who you're working with and all that. So someone that I could express why I was like, I'm not supposed to be doing this right now, but let me find someone else that I trust that can help you deliver. And then within the next 1 week, I will try to sort of like ensure I'm handing over properly to the next person. I did that and I kept it moving. And I have zero guilt, right, about moving on, right? It's money that would have been great and all, but I'm like, I would rather be doing the right thing at the right time and be doing a
Mhm.
lot of things and it's
Yeah.
not the right thing. I would say another part would be I know myself better now,
Yeah.
right? And I got a lot of the reason why I said balance on this was I had the traumatic experience of getting burnt out. Burnout is such a weird thing. It's such a crazy thing, and I wish we talk about it a lot. At least through balance on I'm trying to talk about it more. Um, but what that did was I hit a wall, and that wall was, when you've been going with God to an extent, but you've not fully been going with God. You've been going in your strength. Maybe like you've been going in your strength like 80%,
And then
85%,
go.
and then 15% is like God is like a cherry on the top, right? But now I have, by hitting that wall, I had to learn that God needs to be like 80, 85%, and I just need to show up as the 20% within that ecosystem and allow him, not as a form of laziness, no, but let it be that everything I'm doing is more rooted in God, right? That means I would sort of like walk in ease. Is that whole my yoke is easy, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you're not going to work. That yoke is heavy in a way, right? It's just that it's more easy because you are carrying it with me.
Yeah.
So that has helped me sort of like restructure how I work, right? And now I work much smarter. I tell people that I got burnt out because I was working, what, 16, 18 hours a day. But then now I'm not working as much, but then the quality of work I'm doing is more than what I was doing before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another thing would be I have also, now the way I work, I feel like I have learned to delegate more,
Mm.
right? So, how do I explain this? I hosted a summit just in February, and I remember how I almost hit a wall with that too, because there was a way I wanted to execute based off my whole, oh yeah, my excellent program designer, blah, blah, blah. And I remember just getting to my end and telling God that, okay, I need help because if this doesn't work out, I've gone and shouted that I'm going to do this thing and all. I had even I even came up with this whole, okay, if I don't get a clear go ahead with this stuff within the next 48 hours, I'm going to shut this down. I'll go and tell people that, I know I said I was going to do this, but give me time. I'll come back later. But the sign came that, oh, I should continue. But then it came with an instruction of steward your resources better, right? And stewarding my resources was around, oh, the finances, steward it better. The people around you, steward them better. So it now sort of like made me take a step back, like, okay, is there a way I'm not communicating well enough this vision? Right. So learning to also trust the people that I'm working with, because there's this thing about knowing how to do a lot so well, and you now saying that because I can do it so well, let me do it myself. And just learning that sometimes you have to trust that God ordered the steps of these people to come help you execute this vision. Right. So learning to trust myself to let people go do what they're supposed to do. That's also a new way I'm working now, at least for the past maybe like 3 to 5 years of my career. In the early days, I was always the one that I would do everything myself. I would burn the midnight candle because I'm trying to do everything myself. Um, I think finally I would say I am also learning to rest a lot, right? I'm learning to rest a lot. I am taking that Sabbath rest seriously. I am learning that if anything happens, the world will move on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that there's too much I've been asked to come do that I cannot burn myself out. I had to learn that a rested mind is a little mind, right? And that little mind can do so much, right? So I am learning to rest a lot. I'm learning to sometimes just be in my own space and not be busy. I was telling you how I was watching K drama up until I joined Night of Increase, and after that, I went to bed and I slept in, right? And for the rest of today, yes, I have other things to do, but I plan to rest, right? Because I know that if I rest properly, I will start the new week more energized, more focused. Funny enough, I get ideas on things to do when I'm resting, but then I've also learned to know, just like you said, there are things you don't pick up immediately. I've also learned to sort of like just scribble things down and tell the Holy Spirit to remind me, because I know that I can't forget, right? So those are some ways that I would say I now work better compared to when I started.
Yeah, by the way, congratulations on Balance Unleashed
Thank you.
event.
Thank you.
I stalked the page a few days ago while I was putting the questions together, and I saw how amazing it was. My pastor was there, BWS. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
And that was really good. And
Yeah.
I think the part of rest, I'll say this. The most money I've made in my life
Yeah.
come from doing the simplest things. Things that I will do for free.
Yeah.
The smallest money I've made have come from me struggling in my life. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I use that principle to say, God, I think I know this is not a faith podcast, but I'm a
Mm.
Christian, so everything I do is a faith
Yeah.
thing. So I always just tell everyone, even when people guys come and do panels, if you
Yeah.
don't believe in the mention of God, it will be really hard because at
True.
some point in time it will enter that this is what
Exactly.
helping me. So
Yeah.
you just know ahead of time that this is what it is. So typically in my
Yeah.
conversation, I've just given up to say, see,
Yeah.
I'm not in, even if it's not a faith defined platform, it's to the faith
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say before I said that was, I've come to see that in life here. Uh, the principle that God uses to produce wealth is not necessarily always the principle that we have. People say if you
Yeah.
work harder, you make more. Not really. I think I've worked the most in my life in the
Yeah.
last 2 years as I moved countries, and it's been the
Yeah.
hardest. I've
Yeah.
made the most money of my life, but I've not still made enough that I would like to make.
Yeah.
Uh, but I also know that a time will come that I'll just be sleeping, and I'll make
Yeah.
the most money of my life.
True.
And so that rest is not because I'm somebody that like yesterday now, if an idea comes to my head, the least I would like to do is take my phone, write it down somewhere so
Yeah.
I don't. The moment I forget the idea, I'll be like,
Yeah.
what was that thing you say you wanted to do? And so I started training myself to say, you can watch video games, you can play video games. The world is not going to die, everything is not going to fall because I already hold myself to a higher standard.
Yeah.
And it's not like my standard of God.
Yeah.
So nobody can come and kill me when the
Yeah.
person that is the one that is as the highest standard in the world is telling me to go and lie down and sleep.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I say it in terms of rest. Like I'm not holding myself to meet any standards. I don't think I have.
Yeah.
I have good standards, but standards I have is because I have God.
Yeah.
And that rest part is something that has helped because you just realize that my gift is not for 2 years. It's for
Mm.
100 years, 50 years. I'm not
Yeah.
going to die and
Yeah.
and go. You'll not get to it and go say, "Oh, you're supposed to do this for 30 years, but you burnt
Yeah.
yourself out. Yes, sorry, I love you, but welcome home." I'm
Yeah.
like, ah. And I think for me that's it. Like
That
my
would be a
gift,
shame.
yeah, it's like he loves you, but hey, you're living
Yeah.
for 30 years, but you burnt yourself out. You didn't pace yourself enough. Welcome home.
Yeah.
And that's it for me. I don't want to get demotivated that I would want to
Yeah.
stop doing what I'm doing. So if I need to pause, if there's structures I need to put together, and there's something that you said that I'm going to act on. I
Yeah.
started hiring people to do stuff for me from last year because I realized for again, like I said, some of us are really good at many things. So I don't
Yeah.
think anybody ever do to our standard. So I have a couple of people that work on the different brands in clearly they can do it better. So I'm not
Yeah.
even they can first do it better. So it's not even a thing of
Yeah.
life. So just in case they were, they can do it better. But
Yeah.
I also need to learn to trust them
Yeah.
and let them go because every time what I didn't realize was that I was measuring them against me,
Mm. Yeah.
not
That's always a mistake.
yeah. And I just figured it now that what I was doing was I was measuring it against me, and they can never measure. Like it's an unfair conversation to
Yeah.
do. It's like maybe me joining a company and someone is measuring me against Rachel. And it's like
Yeah.
it's possible. I can never meet Rachel's standard because I'm
Yeah.
not Rachel. I don't have her experiences.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was doing. I was measuring them against how Nifemi would have done it. But
Yeah.
really and truly, they can never do it how Nifemi would have done
Yeah.
it. They
Yeah.
can meet some standards, which I want them to meet, but it will never be against that. And
True.
that was really very helpful for me. Do you want to say something?
I think in the grand scheme of things, I think I learned to there's this thing about how some revelations or some clarity comes to you exactly when you need it. So I try not to beat myself up about or sort of like feel guilty about all of the ways that there's this thing that we always be like, but you're smart. You should have known to do this. Right now I'm
Mhm.
just like at that time I did not have this level of exposure.
Yep.
And that's okay. That's
That,
okay. I was
yep.
having a conversation with a friend of mine who came to see me yesterday, and we're talking about relationships and how she like the way she has showed up in multiple relationships. And I told her, see, the truth is at the time you were too young to know. Like you were too young. And I tell people that sometimes I'm grateful to God that I didn't marry early because there are things that I know now that if I had gotten married at the time, I will now be stuck in this place of do I want to grow within this marriage or is this something that cannot even work and I have to step out? Then when I
Mm,
remember, let's say some background information, and I'm like, but I have to stay and all of that. So all that to say, there are some things that I'm grateful to God that He told me, wait, right?
mhm.
And that's waiting now that I get to do it, I can look back and say, okay, I messed this up. I messed this up. But now, what if all those mess up is with the story that God is trying to use to impact
Yep.
generations? But
Yep.
if I had known that information, then that means that whole pain to purpose experience, I'm no longer on that path anymore. So,
Yeah, you be on another path, which is the beautiful thing about God.
true.
Like
Yeah.
you be on another path, and because
Yeah.
I don't think, I think God has and this is going to just, I think God has always has a pen
Yeah.
that's always writing.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
story never stops, even if
True.
even if the what they call it, the main character of the story goes
Yeah.
another,
True. True.
the
I
story just
think,
moves to the next thing.
yeah. I think that this thing that again, if I'm sorry to everyone watching, I feel like we've switched this conversation a bit. But there's this thing that Pastor Goodman always talks about how every time he goes when he started driving first time in Lagos when Google Map came out and all of that, and how he was going at towards a particular direction. And
It never
then yeah, but then it was like he was like, if technology can reroute you, how much more God? Right.
exactly
Yeah.
stops. And that's the thing. And if you take it on a different level, it's the same thing with your life.
Yeah.
The story that you're telling with your life should never stop.
True.
You miss it out on something, you miss an opportunity. There's always going to be something else. Don't
Always.
give in, don't give up.
Yeah.
Find the next expression of you, or
Yeah.
stay something enough that the expression finds itself completely, and
Yeah.
just build up. I feel like the nature that we have is the nature to create and build
Yeah.
amazing things. Now,
True.
I'm not saying everyone is going to build companies of billion of
Yeah.
dollars, whether it's this conversation that you have with your friend, that's
Yeah.
creating. You're
True.
creating a space whereby your friends can express, like whether it's going to teenagers to talk to them, whether it's
Yeah.
doing your own work well, you are creating stuff, and
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that fuels us the most. And the journey whereby I said something to myself, I was writing it, and I said, I realized that the destination I is short lived. It's the shortest
True.
lived
True.
experience, but the eye of the journey,
Yeah.
like what
Yeah.
really you're waking up saying, wow. I,
Yeah.
I've seen, I haven't seen, I've watched videos of people that have sold their company and hands off completely. And they were
Yeah.
like, God, yeah, they've made
Yeah.
tons of money. They're like billions in USD. And but I just
Yeah.
did like, what's left in this life for us to do like this? Like,
I
what is,
know.
but like when they
Yeah.
were working on the idea, when they were trying to figure it out, they were their best self.
Yeah.
When an idea
True.
comes, that joy of that idea can keep them for the next 1 month. Then when they
True.
solve a problem, that thing keeps them, and they have perpetual high while
Yeah.
building. So don't focus so much on where you're going that you
Yeah.
miss the joy
Focus. Yeah.
of where you
Focus on
are.
the journey.
Yeah,
Focus on the
joy of
journey.
where
Yeah.
you are is beautiful. Like I've met amazing people like yourself in just this conversation that I know now that if I need to have like a session with you, I can text you privately.
Yeah.
Imagine someone has come to buy off this platform, and I'm like, and they are the one meeting these people, and
Yeah.
I've made the money, yes, but I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
what next? What else am I
Yeah.
going to do? And also focus on the journey, and like
Yeah.
keep building. Like it would make sense eventually. You plot the graph, you put it all
Yeah.
together. But
Yeah.
what you are doing it, you might never know what it would lead to. But if you don't
Very
do it,
true.
you never know what it would lead to.
True.
And that's
True.
how I don't know if you have anything to wrap up. Any closing statement.
Yeah, so I would say is this something that I share with my community members and also people who care to listen. Um, if so at the start of this year I started a new role, like I said, and it's a sales role, like business development heavy role. So formally it's such a great experience because now I get to share more about the transformation we're trying to give, right? But now what has happened is at the start of this year, I wanted to learn sales. That was why I accepted this role. I stepped into the role and I realized, okay, I want to learn sales. I want to become better at selling things. Now, at the start of the year, there might have been targets that were set for me, but I didn't care much about the targets. All I cared about was I want to learn sales. And for every conversation or for every resource, I was watching YouTube, I was having conversation with salespeople, I was doing all of that. And in the midst of that, I was closing more deals faster than what was set because what I cared about was to become a better salesperson as against meeting goals, right? So there's this thing about follow the steps, don't care about the result yet. The result would show, and sometimes the result would be more than your wildest imagination. I have this picture, I will send it to you. You can put it up at this time. So I have this picture that always looks at our plan and God's plan for us. It's like you have a bouquet of flower, and then God has this room filled with bouquet of flowers. If you follow the steps, right, the result would always blow your mind, right?
Yeah.
So my recommendation is focus on the process of becoming instead of focusing on what you are meant to become, right? And things would go the way you want to go. And if it doesn't, like we said, if Google Map will reroute you, how much more your maker, right? So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was a fun way to start my morning. I enjoyed the conversation.
Likewise.
Thank you, and I hope that everyone that gets to watch this now or in 20 years time, and that's how God has helped me to build what I did. It says, you are a seed planted, and that means that you might have even gone out of this world. Your tree begins to blossom, and then it is other people that will stay under the tree. So we don't do this for the immediate 2,000 likes or whatever. We do it for years when someone is looking for a session to help them in their journey. And so whoever's going to watch this in 50 years time, 20 years time, depending on the time that Jesus tarries, I hope this helps you. I hope you kind of see that there's no perfect journey. It's just individuals deciding that I'm going to keep going regardless. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to make a difference in my life. And yes, thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you for joining, and thank you for spending the afternoon with us.
Thank you, Nifemi. This was such a great one. I'm glad we got to have this chat. Thank you.